The twin moons of the alien world hung low in the sky, casting silver-blue light over the silent forest. Wind whistled through the tall, glowing trees, carrying with it the scent of something wild, something watching. Marcus, the lone human traveler, walked slowly along the narrow trail. His boots crunched softly over fallen leaves that shone faintly in the moonlight. 3 days stranded on this planet. 3 days with no real food except for the last ration bar in his pocket. He had been saving it for later, but tonight something felt different. He stopped when he heard it. A faint whimper. Not the wind. Not the creak of trees. A soft, trembling cry, like a child. Marcus turned his head sharply. His eyes scanned the thick bushes. The sound came again, weak, desperate. He took a careful step closer, hand instinctively resting on the small knife at his side. Out here, anything could be dangerous. Then, through the shadows, he saw them. 2 tiny, glowing eyes, watching him. The bushes moved, and a small creature stepped out. Marcus froze. It was young. He could tell by its unsteady steps and its too big head compared to its thin body. Its fur was patchy, dirty, its ribs clearly showing through its skin. The little thing looked half-starved. Its tail hung low, dragging on the ground. Stopped a few feet away and looked up at Marcus. Those glowing yellow eyes. They weren't wild or angry. They were full of fear and hunger. The cub whimpered again. A pitiful, heart-squeezing sound. Marcus slowly crouched down. He didn't move too fast. He didn't want to scare it. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the last ration bar. His own stomach growled, reminding him this was supposed to be his dinner. But the way the cub was staring at the food, its little legs shaking, Marcus sighed. "Guess you need it more than me," he muttered softly. He broke the bar in half and held out a piece. The cub took a hesitant step forward. His nose twitched, sniffing the air. It looked at Marcus, then the food, then back at Marcus. Marcus stayed still. The cub darted forward, snatched the piece from his hand, and leaped back like a shadow, crouching low as if expecting a trap. But Marcus didn't move. He just watched. The cub devoured the food in seconds. It licked the crumbs from the ground like it hadn't eaten in days. Marcus threw the second half closer to it. "Go on," he whispered. The cub grabbed it and ate just as fast. Then it froze, ears perked, eyes wide. A deep silence fell over the forest. Marcus noticed it too. No wind, no insects, no night birds. The cub made a strange little sound, almost like a warning. Then it spun around and bolted into the trees, vanishing into the shadows. Marcus straightened slowly. Something wasn't right. And then he heard it. A sound that made his skin crawl. Low, deep, a growl rolling through the trees like distant thunder. It came from the direction the cub had gone. Marcus' hand went to his knife again. Felt small, useless. The growl came again, closer this time. The bushes ahead moved. Branches shook. Marcus stepped back, his heart hammering. And then he saw her. She stepped into the clearing with the slow, graceful power of a born predator. A towering creature, fur glowing like fire under the moonlight, muscles sliding smoothly under her skin as she moved. Her long tail swayed behind her like a whip. Her golden eyes burned like twin suns locked on him. The alien tigress. She was beautiful, terrifying, deadly, and she was staring straight at Marcus. The cub appeared at her side, squeaking in its strange voice, nudging her leg, as if telling her something about the human. The tigress lowered her massive head, nostrils flaring. She sniffed the air. Her gaze shifted to the empty food wrapper on the ground, then back to Marcus. The forest held its breath. Marcus didn't move. His heart thudded so loud he was sure she could hear it. She took one step forward. Her claws sank into the dirt. Muscles rippled under her glowing fur. The cub squeaked again, almost like it was pleading with her. The tigress stopped a few feet away. Her golden eyes glowed brighter. And then, she purred. A deep, rumbling sound that rolled through the night air, full of mystery. Marcus didn't know if it meant safety or danger. Not yet. The rumbling purr rolled through the night air like distant thunder. Marcus stood frozen, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. He didn't know what the sound meant. Was it a warning? Promise? Or something far worse? The alien tigress stood in the moonlight, her golden fur glowing softly. Her muscles shifted under her skin as she moved with slow, powerful grace. She was close enough now that Marcus could see the sharp white of her fangs when her lips curled slightly. The cub stayed by her side, squeaking in that strange alien voice. It kept nudging her leg as if telling her the whole story. The human, the food, the kindness. Marcus didn't move. His instincts screamed at him to run, but something about the way she looked at him held him in place. She didn't charge. She didn't roar. She studied him. Her yellow eyes moved from his face to the empty food wrapper on the ground. She sniffed the air again. The cub squeaked louder, almost impatiently now, its tiny paws shifting in the dirt. Marcus slowly lowered his knife. He held both hands open in front of him to show he wasn't a threat. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he whispered softly, though he doubted she understood his words. The tigress tilted her head slightly. Then, to Marcus' surprise, she stepped forward and sniffed the wrapper on the ground. Her huge nose twitched as she examined the faint scent of the ration bar. The cub made a soft chirping sound. Its tail wagged once, hopefully. Marcus' heart raced as the tigress lifted her head again and locked eyes with him. And then, she made a sound he didn't expect. Not a growl, not a roar. A low, rumbling, almost questioning sound. Marcus blinked. It was like she was speaking. Not words, but something close. The cub squeaked back at her quickly, its little voice full of excitement. The tigress stared at Marcus for another long moment. Then, slowly, she lowered her massive body to sit on her haunches. She didn't look like she was ready to attack anymore. Marcus stayed very still, afraid to break whatever strange balance had formed between them. The cub trotted toward him, stopped halfway, and looked back at its mother as if asking permission. The tigress flicked her tail once, and the cub hurried forward until it was right in front of Marcus again. It sat down, staring at him with wide eyes, waiting. Marcus slowly crouched. He didn't have any more food to give. But before he could even think of what to do next, the tigress stood again. She turned her head toward the dark forest behind her and let out a short, sharp growl. Marcus stiffened. Was she calling others? Branches shook in the distance. Marcus' grip on his knife tightened instinctively. But no other beasts came. Instead, the tigress began to walk slowly toward the trees. After a few steps, she stopped. She looked back at Marcus. Their eyes met in the moonlight. She growled softly again, the sound low and almost impatient. The cub ran to her side and looked back at Marcus too. It squeaked, its little voice urgent, like it wanted him to follow. Marcus blinked. "You want me to come with you?" he whispered under his breath. The tigress flicked her tail again, clearly waiting. Marcus hesitated. He was alone on this planet, hungry, cold, and exhausted. Following a huge alien predator into the unknown didn't exactly sound smart. But something about the way she watched him, it wasn't hate, it wasn't anger, it was curiosity, and something else he couldn't name. Slowly, Marcus got to his feet. The tigress turned and began walking into the trees. The cub followed close behind. Marcus took a cautious step forward. Then another. The forest swallowed them quickly. Moonlight filtered through the tall, glowing trees, painting strange shadows on the ground. The tigress moved silently, her massive paws barely making a sound. The cub trotted happily beside her, occasionally looking back to make sure Marcus was still there. Marcus kept his distance but followed. For almost 10 minutes, none of them made a sound. Only the wind whispered through the trees. Then the forest began to change. The trees grew wider, stranger. Faint glowing shapes appeared between the roots, alien plants curling like giant hands. And then Marcus saw it. Through the trees ahead, faint lights flickered. Not fire, not stars, buildings, or something close to buildings. A village, an alien village. Marcus stopped in his tracks, staring in shock. The tigress turned her head slightly, her golden eyes glinting, and then she led him straight toward it. Marcus followed the tigress and her cub into the alien village, his steps slow and cautious. His eyes scanned everything around him. The village was nothing like he expected. Strange glowing huts stood between the giant trees, their walls made of some kind of shining stone mixed with alien wood that pulsed faintly like it was alive. Thin bridges stretched from branch to branch above his head, connecting platforms lit with floating orbs of light. It was beautiful and eerie. Marcus felt dozens of eyes on him. Figures moved in the shadows. Tall, lean aliens with fur patterns like the tigress, but with different colors, silver, black, orange, stepped out of the huts. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark. They stared at him in silence. Some climbed down from the platforms above, their tails curling like whips behind them. Others stayed on the bridges, crouched low, watching every move he made. Marcus felt the weight of their gaze pressing down on him. His hand itched toward his knife, but he kept it at his side. Showing fear or aggression here felt like a bad idea. The tigress mother walked proudly ahead of him, her cub trotting at her side. She didn't seem worried, but Marcus noticed the other aliens whispering in low growls, their eyes flicking between him and the tigress. It was clear, humans didn't come here often. Maybe never. The tigress stopped in the center of the village near a large stone platform. She turned and sat gracefully, her golden eyes locking on Marcus again. The cub bounded forward, chirping happily, as if telling everyone what happened in the forest. Marcus stood there awkwardly, surrounded by dozens of glowing eyes. One of the alien villagers stepped closer. A male bigger than the others, his fur striped black and red. He carried a long spear made of something that looked like bone and metal mixed together. He growled low in his throat, his voice deep and sharp. Marcus didn't understand the words, but the meaning felt clear enough. "Who are you? Why are you here?" The tigress growled back, her voice louder, rougher. The cub squeaked excitedly between them. The male's ears twitched. His eyes narrowed as he stared at Marcus. Marcus raised both hands slowly. "I'm not here to fight," he said carefully, knowing they couldn't understand but hoping his tone carried the meaning. "I just helped the cub. That's all." The male alien tilted his head slightly, as if listening to Marcus' voice. Then he growled again, this time at the tigress. The tigress bared her teeth, a deep rumble rolling through her chest. The cub squeaked louder, running in little circles around them like it was trying to explain everything at once. Marcus stood very still, feeling like the wrong move could end very badly. Finally, the male stepped back slightly. His eyes stayed on Marcus, cold and sharp, but he didn't attack. The tigress gave a single, low growl that seemed to end the argument. Silence fell over the village. Marcus shifted uneasily. He didn't like being the center of attention. The tigress looked at him again, her golden eyes unreadable. Then she stood and walked toward him slowly. Marcus tensed as she approached. She stopped just a few feet away, her massive body towering over him. For a moment, neither moved. Then she leaned forward and sniffed his jacket. Marcus froze. Her breath was warm against his chest. The villagers watched closely. The tigress pulled back and stared into his eyes for a long moment. Her gaze wasn't angry now. It was searching, studying him like she wanted to understand something about him. Marcus didn't look away. He wasn't sure if that was bravery or just fear keeping him rooted to the spot. Finally, the tigress made a low, soft sound different from before. Not a growl, not a threat, almost gentle. She turned and walked back to the stone platform, sitting tall and proud. The cub climbed onto the platform beside her, looking cheerful and safe now. The villagers slowly lowered their weapons. Some growled softly to each other, tails flicking as they watched Marcus. Marcus let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Something had changed. The tigress didn't see him as an enemy anymore. But he could feel it, this was only the beginning. The way the male with the spear kept staring at him told Marcus the others weren't so sure about him yet. He was in the middle of a village full of powerful alien predators, and their leader had just decided he was worth keeping alive. For now, the alien village stayed quiet after the tense standoff. Strange glowing lights flickered on the bridges above, casting moving shadows on the ground. The wind carried soft, rumbling voices from the alien villagers as they watched Marcus carefully, their golden eyes glinting in the dim light. Marcus stood still, not daring to move. He was in the center of their world now, and every instinct screamed at him to be careful. The tigress mother sat tall on the stone platform, her cub resting beside her. She looked like a queen on a throne, fierce, calm, powerful. Her eyes never left Marcus. Then, with a low growl, she rose to her feet. The crowd hushed immediately. She walked toward the edge of the platform, muscles moving under her golden fur like flowing water. Her tail flicked slowly behind her as she looked at Marcus. Marcus felt his breath catch. The cub chirped once, its small voice carrying through the night air. The tigress lowered her head slightly and made a sound, deep, rumbling, but not threatening. It almost felt welcoming. Marcus didn't understand the words, but somehow, he felt she was inviting him closer. He hesitated. Every set of glowing eyes in the village was on him. The male alien with the spear growled something low, his voice sharp, but the tigress turned her head and gave him a single, commanding snarl. The male backed off immediately. Marcus swallowed hard. He stepped forward slowly, his boots crunching on the alien soil. The villagers whispered in low growls, their tails swishing nervously. When Marcus reached the platform, the tigress stared into his eyes. She made a low, rumbling sound again. Then she pointed her massive paw toward the far side of the village where strange, glowing fruits hung from tall, twisting trees. Marcus blinked. "You want me to eat?" he asked softly, unsure. The cub chirped excitedly and ran to the fruit trees. It grabbed one of the glowing fruits in its little jaws and brought it to Marcus, dropping it at his feet. Marcus looked down at the fruit. It pulsed faintly like it was alive, glowing with soft blue light. The villagers watched in complete silence. Marcus knelt slowly and picked it up. The skin of the fruit was warm under his fingers, but it smelled sweet, like honey and flowers mixed together. He took a small bite. Juice burst in his mouth. Sweet, cool, unlike anything he had tasted before. The cub chirped happily and bounced in little circles. The tigress made a sound that almost felt like approval. Marcus chewed slowly, still cautious but surprised. He hadn't eaten real food in days. The taste filled his empty stomach like fire spreading through frozen wood. The villagers began to murmur again, their voices low and unsure. Marcus looked up. The tigress was watching him closely, her golden eyes unblinking. And then, she stepped even closer. Her massive head lowered until her glowing eyes were level with his. Marcus tensed but didn't move. The tigress let out a slow, deep purr that vibrated through the ground beneath his feet. It wasn't like before when she was threatening him. This time it almost felt like an offer. Marcus blinked. He couldn't explain it, but something in her voice, in her eyes, carried meaning. She was not only feeding him, she was claiming him. The realization hit him like cold water. The cub chirped again, running in excited circles around them. The villagers whispered among themselves, some hissing softly, others staring in silence. The male with the spear looked angry but stayed quiet under the tigress' sharp gaze. Marcus slowly understood what was happening. The tigress was their leader. She had chosen to bring him here. She had given him food, protection, and now something more. The villagers would not touch him. Not while she watched over him like this. Marcus felt a strange mix of relief and unease. He was safe for now. But why? Why would a powerful alien predator offer him safety, food, and protection? The tigress rumbled softly again, her tail flicking slowly as she turned and looked toward the dark forest beyond the village. Then she looked back at Marcus. Her eyes glowed like molten gold, and for the first time Marcus felt it clearly. She wanted him to stay. The night in the alien village was strange and full of secrets. The glowing huts pulsed softly like sleeping creatures. Faint lights drifted above the treetop bridges, floating like slow fireflies. The wind carried whispers, growls, murmurs, the sound of tails brushing against the wooden walkways. Marcus sat near a small fire the aliens had made for him. The cub curled up close to his side, its tiny body warm against his arm. The tigress mother sat not far away, her golden eyes watching everything around them like a queen guarding her throne. The other villagers kept their distance. Some crouched on the bridges above, others stood in the shadows of huts. Their glowing eyes never left Marcus. He could feel it in their stares. They didn't trust him. Maybe they hated him. Only the tigress mother kept the peace. Every time one of the villagers growled too loudly or moved too close, her tail flicked once, sharp and fast, and they stopped immediately. She was their leader. There was no doubt about it. But why had she brought him here? Marcus kept asking himself the same question. The cub stirred beside him, yawning softly. It made a happy little chirp before curling tighter against his arm. Marcus looked at its small face and sighed. "You got me into this, you know," he whispered. The cub flicked one ear but didn't wake up. Marcus turned his eyes toward the glowing huts. The village felt alive. The walls of the huts moved faintly, as if breathing. Blue vines curled around the wooden frames, pulsing with faint light. Platforms hung high in the trees, connected by thin bridges that swayed in the wind. He had never seen anything like it, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the villagers were more than they appeared. They weren't just beasts. They were intelligent, organized, maybe even advanced in ways he didn't understand yet. The tigress mother stood suddenly. Marcus tensed. She turned toward the largest hut in the village, its walls glowing brighter than the others. With one sharp growl, she called to the villagers. Two tall aliens stepped out of the hut. Their fur was silver-streaked with black, their movements slow and graceful. They carried strange staffs carved with glowing symbols. Elders. Even Marcus could tell. The villagers whispered as the elders approached. The tigress mother growled low, explaining something in her deep, rumbling voice. The cub squeaked, adding its own excited sounds as if it wanted to tell the story too. Marcus sat very still. He felt every eye in the village shift to him. One of the elders stepped closer. Its golden eyes studied Marcus for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then it raised its staff and pointed toward the dark forest beyond the village. The villagers growled softly. Some hissed. The cub's ears flattened. Even the tigress mother growled sharply, her tail lashing once against the ground. Marcus frowned. He didn't understand the words, but the meaning felt clear. The forest beyond the village was dangerous. The elder's eyes stayed on Marcus as it made a series of low, harsh sounds. The villagers murmured again, tails swishing nervously. The cub squeaked angrily, stamping its little paws. Marcus felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Whatever the elder had said, the villagers didn't like it. The tigress mother growled back, her voice rising louder now. She stepped toward the elder, head low, teeth bared slightly. The elder didn't back down. It pointed its staff at Marcus again, speaking in those strange guttural words. Marcus slowly began to understand. This was about him. The elder didn't want him here. Maybe they feared him. Maybe they hated outsiders. Whatever the reason, the elder clearly wanted him gone. The cub squeaked louder, running to Marcus and pressing against his side as if defending him. The tigress mother growled so loudly the fire beside Marcus flickered. Her golden eyes burned as she stared at the elder. The two alien leaders faced each other in tense silence. Then the elder made one last sharp sound and turned away. The villagers murmured nervously, their tails flicking. The tigress mother growled once more, a deep, final sound. The argument was over, but Marcus could feel it. Something had been decided. Something dangerous. The elder had given him a warning or a challenge, and the tigress mother had accepted it. Marcus looked at the cub pressing against his arm, then at the glowing forest beyond the village. He didn't like where this was going. Not one bit. The night in the alien village grew heavier after the elder's warning. The wind whistled through the bridges above, carrying low growls and whispers of the villagers. Their glowing eyes glinted in the firelight, all fixed on Marcus. Marcus sat stiffly beside the cub, trying to read the tense silence around him. He didn't understand their words, but the meaning was clear enough. Something had been decided. Something about him. The elder stood tall at the edge of the platform, its silver and black fur shining under the moonlight. Its glowing staff pointed toward the dark forest beyond the village, where shadows moved among the trees. Marcus didn't like the way the villagers looked at him now. Some with anger, others with cold curiosity. The tigress mother stood near him, tail flicking slowly, her golden eyes locked on the elder. She growled low, deep in her chest, like thunder rolling before a storm. The cub pressed against Marcus' side, chirping softly as if it sensed his unease. Finally, the elder spoke in its strange, guttural voice. Its words rose and fell like distant drums, sharp and heavy. The villagers murmured in response. Some hissed, others growled softly, tails swishing in agitation. Marcus looked between them, confused. "What's going on?" he muttered under his breath, though no one could understand him. The elder slammed its staff against the stone platform. A sharp, ringing sound echoed through the village. And then Marcus saw movement in the trees beyond. Glowing eyes. Dozens of them. The villagers hissed louder now, some climbing to the higher platforms as if to watch from safety. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Whatever was out there, it wasn't friendly. The elder turned its glowing eyes on Marcus and spoke again, voice low but carrying weight. Marcus didn't need to know the language to feel it. It was a challenge, a trial. The forest beyond the village held danger, and he was expected to face it, alone. Marcus stared at the dark trees, his hand tightening on the small knife at his side. This was insane. He wasn't a fighter. He was a stranded traveler with no weapons, no allies, unless the tigress mother counted. He looked at her now. She stared back, golden eyes burning like fire. She didn't growl this time. She didn't try to stop the elder. She just watched him, waiting. The cub squeaked loudly, tail lashing in protest. It ran to the elder, chirping angrily, stamping its tiny paws. The elder ignored it. The villagers murmured again, tails flicking, eyes glinting in the dark. Marcus understood then. This was the price for staying in their village. The price for being under the tigress mother's protection. He had to prove himself. Or die. Two villagers stepped forward carrying long spears tipped with sharp bone. They planted them into the ground near the edge of the platform. Marcus realized what they were offering. Weapons. Primitive but better than the small knife at his belt. Slowly, Marcus rose to his feet. The cub squeaked anxiously, running in circles around his legs. Marcus bent down and touched the cub's head gently. "Stay here," he said softly, even though it didn't understand. The cub whimpered, tail drooping. Marcus stepped forward and grabbed one of the spears. Felt heavy in his hand, the shaft smooth but strong. The tip glinted faintly in the firelight. The villagers watched in silence as he turned toward the dark forest. The elder slammed its staff again. The trial had begun. Marcus took a deep breath and stepped into the shadows beyond the village. The forest closed around him quickly, the glowing huts fading behind the thick, twisted trees. Strange sounds echoed in the darkness. Rustling leaves, distant growls, the snap of branches under heavy footsteps. The spear felt too small in his hands. His heart pounded against his ribs. Something moved ahead. Marcus froze, eyes scanning the shadows. Two glowing shapes slipped between the trees. Low growls rumbled through the darkness. More eyes appeared. They were circling him. Marcus gripped the spear tighter. His palms were slick with sweat. Then one of the creatures lunged. It burst from the shadows. A massive, wolf-like beast with spines running down its back, jaws snapping open to reveal rows of sharp teeth. Marcus swung the spear desperately. The tip scraped across the creature's shoulder, drawing a hiss of pain. The beast retreated, snarling. But more shapes moved in the dark now. Dozens of glowing eyes surrounding him. Marcus backed toward a tree, keeping the spear between him and the beasts. His breath came fast, his muscles tense. The forest was alive with glowing eyes and low growls, closing in on him slowly, step by step. And somewhere beyond the darkness, Marcus knew the villagers were watching, waiting to see if the human would survive or be torn apart. The circle of glowing eyes closed tighter around Marcus. The alien beasts growled low in their throats, the sound shaking through the dark forest. Their spines glinted faintly in the moonlight as they moved closer, step by slow step. Marcus held the spear tightly, his breath sharp and fast. He could feel sweat running down his back. His mind screamed at him to run, but there was nowhere to go. They were everywhere, in front, behind, above in the trees. One wrong move and it would be over. The first beast lunged again. Marcus spun fast and thrust the spear forward. The sharp tip pierced the creature's shoulder. It screamed, a horrible sound that echoed through the forest. The other beasts froze for a moment. Their glowing eyes shifted from the wounded one to Marcus. Marcus pulled the spear back, his arms shaking. He had heard it, but not enough. The wounded beast snarled and limped back into the shadows. Then two more leaped from the trees. Marcus dropped to the ground, rolling as sharp claws slashed through the air where he had been standing. He came up on one knee and swung the spear hard, hitting one beast in the side. It howled and stumbled away, but the other one didn't stop, pounced straight at him. Marcus had no time to think. He jammed the spear upward with all his strength. The tip drove into the beast's chest as it fell on him. Its weight slammed him to the ground, but the spear stayed in place. The creature twitched once, then went still. Marcus shoved it off and scrambled to his feet, panting hard. The remaining beasts circled slowly, growling, their eyes glowing brighter now. They were angry. Marcus tightened his grip on the spear. His whole body shook, but he kept his feet planted. "Come on," he muttered under his breath. "You want me? Then come." The biggest beast stepped forward. Its spines rose high, mouth opening wide to show rows of sharp teeth. Marcus raised the spear, ready. But before the beast could leap, a roar split the night. Not a beast's roar, a deeper one, a stronger one. From the trees above, a golden shape dropped like lightning. The Tigress mother. She hit the biggest beast in a blur of claws and teeth. It screamed as her massive jaws locked around its neck. The other beasts shrieked and scattered, tails low, ears flat. The Tigress spun, slashing with her claws, her golden fur blazing under the moonlight. Two more beasts leaped at her, but she threw them aside like leaves in the wind. Marcus stood frozen, watching her fight. She was faster than anything he had ever seen. Stronger. The beasts tried once more to circle her, but one roar from her and they broke apart, vanishing into the dark forest with sharp cries. Silence fell. Marcus breathed hard, chest aching, arms trembling. The Tigress stood over the body of the dead beast, her golden eyes glowing like fire. She looked at Marcus slowly. Her gaze wasn't cold. It wasn't threatening. It was proud. The cub came running out of the trees, chirping loudly, tail wagging like crazy. It ran to Marcus first, leaping at his legs, then ran to its mother, squeaking excitedly as if telling her everything at once. The Tigress padded toward Marcus. Her steps were slow now, graceful. She stopped in front of him, her huge head lowering until her eyes were level with his. Marcus didn't move. His heart pounded. The Tigress leaned closer, and then she touched her forehead lightly against his chest. Marcus froze. The cub chirped softly, almost like it was purring. The villagers stepped out of the shadows then, their glowing eyes watching from the trees. Some climbed down from the platforms, others walked silently through the bushes. The elder came too, its staff glowing faintly. It looked at the dead beast, then at Marcus, then at the Tigress. For a long moment no one spoke. Then the elder struck its staff against the ground once. The sound echoed through the forest. The villagers began to growl softly, tails swishing, but not in anger this time. It was approval, respect. Marcus finally understood. The trial was over. He had survived, and the Tigress mother had claimed him as part of her own. The elder lowered its head slightly. The other villagers followed. Even the biggest males stepped back, no longer watching him with suspicion. Marcus looked at the tigress. Her golden eyes met his. In them, he saw something more than just strength. He saw trust, and a bond that would not break. The cub chirped again, pressing against his leg. Marcus reached down slowly and scratched its head. For the first time since he landed on this strange world, he didn't feel alone. The tigress gave one last rumbling growl, low and deep, as the villagers began to chant softly under the moonlight. A sound of welcome, a family, and Marcus knew this night had changed everything, forever.